Hey guys, Dr. Alex here, Punch Doctor, CEO of Punching Power, and today I want to take a look at Ilia's knockout of Charles Oliveira. Ilia exposed the exact flaws I pointed out in my strengths and weaknesses video. Charles's poor defense, upright stance, and lack of head movement, and Ilia's strengths played right into them. Ilia's mechanics are elite, as I've pointed out in my other videos, and this KO is a perfect example of sequencing and full body integration that I teach. Let's take a look at this KO in slow motion and see how it ties directly into the biomechanics I teach both here on my channel and in depth inside my program, the Power Punching Blueprint. I'm going to go over some stuff here that you might not be familiar with. So if you haven't seen the Kinetic Integrated Mechanics reference video, I highly recommend you start there to get familiar with these concepts. Let's get into the clips. Before we get to the big knockout, let's look at some of the exchanges in the run-up. Right here, you're going to see Ilia use his entire body behind his jab to get as much distance as possible, to close the gap and go from out of range to land. This jab doesn't exactly land that well. However, it's just an example of a good use of his body. And you're going to see the pattern follow all the other patterns that I showcase on my channel. There's going to be a lowering of his center of gravity, an explosion forward, some slight hip rotation in the jab as well, and he really uses his entire body to catapult his arm forward to land it. It doesn't land that clean, but let's take a look at it anyway. You're going to see Ilia lower his center of gravity right here, really push off from back to front and with some hip rotation to drive that arm forward. Doesn't land that well, but he easily goes from out of range to in range using these mechanics. Right here, you're going to see a big right hand also going from out of range to in range, just like he did against Max. You're going to see the same patterns take place here as well. You're going to see a lowering of his center of gravity, a huge hip rotation right there as his arm is coming back. Now, what that is doing is stretching all of his cross-body chains. His front functional line, spiral lines, and the superficial front arm line between his pec and his arm, which then allows him to contract violently on that stretch using the stretch shortening cycle to power the rest of the movement, get acceleration, and land with concussive, emphatic power. We can watch it again. You see him lower his center of gravity right here. You see look at the venom print on his trunk. So you're going to see his hips rotate as his arm is coming back, creating stretch between his hips and his torso that he can then contract upon right here. And then the arm follows. Hip, torso, arm, into and through. So he's creating a cascade of accelerating movement by using his hips to drive the entire motion. Here you're going to see Ilia use a feint very effectively. Ilia has excellent boxing. You're going to see the feint, you're going to see Charles respond to it, and then Ilia's going to strike. So just a little feint right here. Charles covers up, and then when he opens his guard, Ilia sneaks in a little jab. Here you're going to see another excellent use of a feint. Ilia feints to the head and goes to the body. You see Charles respond, lifting his guard higher and becoming vulnerable to the stomach. Ilia's weight's going forward. He's catching it with his lead foot right almost simultaneously as he lands the jab. Excellent use of weight transfer. And since that weight is on his left lead leg now, he can just push it back to reset. Excellent mechanics. There's another jab to the head. And he's going to use a throwaway right here as a feint and really come with this cross. And you see Charles' hand is low. Ilia's hip drives the motion, disguising his movement, camouflaging it, misdirecting it with that jab. And you're going to see his hips start to come forward there as his right arm is coming back, creating stretch in all those cross-body chains. Then that Arm starts to move with the hip. It accelerates, big impact, and follows through. And this was obviously a staggering punch. Charles was pretty much out as this landed. And you're going to see with the cross, Ilia's weight is on his left leg. And you're going to see his left shoulder come back as his hips rotate forward. Right there. Creating stretch between his hips and his shoulder. All those crossbody chains that he can then contract upon right here to bring that arm around and land with even more emphasis. Let's take another look in slow-mo here. You're going to see the big jab that preceded the feint and the right cross that put Charles down. Back to front, big hip rotation, driving the arm forward, stretching all those crossbody kinetic chains, allowing them to contract to accelerate that jab. This is a big jab. Charles felt it. And now Ilia follows up with a feint or a throwaway jab that he doesn't intend really to land to set up his right hand. And right here you see his hips start to move forward. His arm was still moving backwards, creating stretch there. And he's camouflaging this movement with that feint to set it up. Everything starts coming forward. The arm accelerates, makes impact. Ilia's weight has transferred. His left shoulder and arm are coming back as he starts rotating his hips forward for the hook. Now everything starts coming, accelerating, impact, big punch. Now, for the longest time, coaches and commentators would say you can't teach the kind of power that Ilia has, that it's something you have to be born with and can't learn. That's nonsense. If you can throw a ball, you can learn the mechanics behind real punching power. The same power natural punchers generate instinctively. It takes a little bit of work, sure. However, my program, the Power Punching Blueprint, is the fastest way to learn how. The Power Punching Blueprint is an A to Z, step-by-step program that retrains and rewires your movement patterns to use full body integration in every punch and utilize the kinetic cascade, the sequential cascade of accelerating ground-to-glove movement so you can move like a threat and not a robot. To get all the details and buy it today, go to howtopunchharder.com where you can buy the Power Punching Blueprint and start improving your speed, power, and fluidity today. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. So that's about it. Excellent showcase of Ilia's skills relative to Charles' weaknesses. He is a phenomenal fighter, and I look forward to seeing him in the future.